welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I mean, you chose that one, the Gambler, but it could have been Ruby, it could have been Lucille, it could have been Cara the County, it could have been Islands in the Stream, it could be any number of 21 number ones.
Yeah.
What were you, USA Today called you the greatest entertainer of our era?
Years ago, 8 or 10 years ago, I was voted most popular singer of all time. And
wow.
I voted that myself. Now, you know what I've learned about the Irish? They love to sing along.
Yeah.
You know, it's a wonderful thing because you go out and you do your show, you know, and
yeah.
I consider my hits to be a great arsenal, to have something I know are going to work. So I'll do new songs and people listen, they'll be very intent. But boy, you start doing a song they know and you might as well step back because they are going to sing. It was so much fun last night.
Now, you have, as I said, had 21 number ones.
Right.
You've sold hundreds of millions of records. You are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. You don't have to do this.
No, I've had 5 wives. I'm not worth the hundreds of millions of dollars.
I was going to come to that in a minute. Well, why do you keep doing it?
You know, my mom told me when I was young, she said, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And I just thought that was such great advice for a young kid. So I found a job I love, and this isn't work to me. I was telling someone in an interview the other day that getting there is not as much fun as it used to be. But once I get there, there's no place in the world I'd rather be than walking out on the stage.
All the travel and all the stuff in between is boring and tedious.
Yeah, that gets harder because now, as you know, and I have identical twins that are 2 years and 3 months old, and so it's really, stupid, isn't it? But
yeah, why did you decide to go for fatherhood yet again at this stage
you
in
know,
your life?
my wife Wanda, who's here tonight incidentally, is considerably younger than I am, and it was kind of a judgment call we made because what I didn't want to do was rob her of her childbearing years and have her someday look back and say, I wish I hadn't married him, I could have had kids today. So, and it wasn't how I'd envisioned spending the end of my life with 2 little boys, but it is the greatest gift in the world. It's one of the few things I think can fill the void of music when I decide to quit, is these boys.
It probably keeps you young, too.
Well, they say it either makes you or breaks you, and right now I'm leaning toward break. I mean, they're a handful, but it is I'm a little embarrassed to tell you, I can't tell them apart. They're identical twins. They're 2 years old, and Jordan has a freckle right here.
And that's it.
And we pray for black eyes so we can tell them apart for 2 weeks.
But that's the only difference. One little freckle in the middle of the forehead. In terms of your career, I mean, you don't drink.
Right.
You've never done drugs.
Right.
So drugs and rock and roll.
Drugs and rock and roll.
Yeah. But your addiction seems to have been marriage.
Well, you know, I think a lot of things happen to you as you go through your life. I got married right out of high school. And the problem is when you're in the stages where you're seeking success, there's no question, and I'm a little bit... The one thing I regret in my life is that I may have hurt some people in the process because I think it's a very selfish place to be when you're looking for success, when you're striving so hard to go out and do something that you don't really stop and consider it, how it impacts other people. And I regret that.
But you know, this triumph of optimism over experience. I mean, to get married 5 times.
Yeah. Well, you know, I should know something by now, don't you think? You know? But, you know, I will tell you, and this is, you know, even with Wanda here, I had great times with all of my wives. We loved each other very much. But because I was gone so much, we literally grew apart. You know, we became friends, and that really wasn't where I wanted to be. And I think I learned so much that I think I'm a much better husband now than I have ever been in my life.
Yeah. How does Wanda cope? I could ask her myself because she's backstage.
Well, she travels with me everywhere.
Yeah. But how does she cope with all the history? You know, all the stuff that went before.
She's a smart girl. You can't change history. And the fact is, I think she realizes that I'm better because of what I've been through than I would have been having not been through that. And I think that, you know, if you step back and take a kind of a global look at it, you know, I'm not likely to make those mistakes again that I made before. I protect this marriage.
The last one was costly, I read. Is it true, $60 million worth?
Well, yeah. You know, she's very wealthy now. Good for her. You know.
Yeah.
No, the truth is she deserved it, and because
that's what she said. She deserved every cent.
Well, yeah, we'd been married for a long time, and when I first met her, I had nothing, and so together we made a lot, and she took her share. And I don't begrudge that. Money has never ever been what's driven me.
Yeah, because you don't have to do this anymore if you didn't
Well, it's
want
not,
to.
I just don't, money doesn't, I mean, when I was at the peak of my success, I will tell you, I defy you to find someone who's been inordinately successful that will tell you the happiest days of their life is when they were most successful, because you don't have a life. I mean, you're pushed and shoved and pulled. There's several years of my life that I don't even remember, and I didn't do drugs. I mean, it was so busy. And I think that's what happens to marriages. You get so caught up being what you've become that you forget who has helped you through that and who's responsible for it. But
as a man with all this experience, though, of serial marriage and divorce, what would you say to Sir Paul now, who's in the middle of a matrimonial war heading for the divorce courts?
You know what, that really breaks my heart. I don't care who's right, who's wrong. It breaks my heart. It has to be aired in public.
Yeah.
I mean, I've met Paul once or twice, and we're not friends, but I met him, and I don't know her at all, so I don't want to take sides on this, but it was too bad they couldn't, whatever the problems were, they couldn't solve them backstage somewhere, because everybody loses in that scenario.
Yeah. People who've seen you today have said that you look better today than you did 20 years ago. Well, and you've had a bit of work done.
A bit.